Okay, so the next bunch of ingredients that came from Alan, we've done the stir fry. We now have those shallots, just peeled them, the remaining carrot, black pudding, and a bag of lentils. To that, I'm going to add stuff from the fridge. I've got a little bit of leftover diced bacon. If you've got it, great. If you haven't, don't worry. I mean, it could be just any bit. It's just going to add flavour. 3 cloves of garlic. And I've got a little bit of ropey old celery that's been sat in the fridge, looks a bit battered. But all of this is going to add flavour. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a pan nice and warm, splash of oil, and I'm going to cut these shallots, I think, probably in half. So they've got that kind of face on them. I'm going to cook them in the pan. And what I'm going to do is get them nice and caramelised. It's quite a French style dish, this. Cooked pre-lentils, roasted shallots, and those onions, those shallots have got wonderful natural sugars, and they're not going to take a huge amount of cooking. They're not very big. We just want to get that first bit of caramelisation on them, and as I'm cutting them, I'm trying to keep that like the head end on it, all right, so that it doesn't fall apart when you roast it. And as they're beginning to roast, I'm going to add to that actually a few little knobs of butter, okay, and as that butter begins to melt, it browns, and it'll help caramelise these onions, the shallots. Just going to crush this garlic. They'll give out a load of lovely flavour, but garlic burns quite quickly. So I'm going to add this to the pan, not just yet, okay? I want to get a little bit more colour on these onions before I throw in these lumps of garlic. Whilst that's going on, I'm going to dice these carrots. Quite nice chunks. You want them all about the same size so they cook evenly. You can smell these shallots beginning to look that lovely. You want them dark, you almost want them looking like they're burnt, alright? Flip them all over. And once they've got that caramelised on, just take them out. You can see they're beginning to soften all over, alright? They're already beginning to go that little bit opaque. And the moment they start caramelising, you get them out. And don't worry if you think they're burnt. It's not burnt, it's natural sugar, it's lovely, alright? Then at this point, I'm going to put the bacon in. So what we're looking at doing now is driving flavour to come out of that bacon, all the fat to come out of it, because that will add lots of flavour to everything else that we're going to do. Little knob of butter into there, the bacon, the butter, the smells coming from that, the shallots, the celery. Again, I'm going to dice that up. You can see the bacon cooking lovely. And at that point, garlic goes in, alright? So now you've got bacon, garlic, you've got the shallots already roasted. Keep stirring from the bottom of that pan. Get all that bacon fat up, which is delicious, alright? And into that, put our veggies and stir it around. And at this point, I'm going to put a good pinch of salt. Salt again draws moisture from the veggies, draws the moisture out, which is water, which helps steam them, which means they'll cook nice and quickly, okay? But drive all that flavour, alright? A great herb to go with this is thyme. So I've just got some thyme here that I'm going to chop. You can use dried herbs if you've got them. They're probably hanging around in your cupboard somewhere. Put a good sprinkle of them in at this point. Altogether, this is going to take about 15 minutes, I reckon. Another knob of butter in, and just keep stirring. Let that butter melt, and all the flavour from the bacon, the thyme, the garlic. So you can see here, everything is beginning to sweat down really nicely. And at this point, I'm going to add the shallots back to the pan, stir that around. And then at this point, another one of these stock cubes. This is veggie ones, because they're the only ones I got at the minute. Crumble that in. This is for flavour. It's not really about stock, okay? And then into that, water. And all of that is going to steam these vegetables and cook them. And we're now just going to leave that on to reduce down, okay? This will take about 4 to 5 minutes. And whilst that's cooking away, I'm going to fry my black pudding. Nice warm pan. Now this black pudding, I want to get nice and crispy. Some black pudding you can get and you can cook it and you'll do it just a little bit soft, but this one, because of the texture of this, it's going to be nice and hearty and soft. I want to kind of counterbalance that and make sure that I fry these black pudding nice and crispy on both sides. So at this point, Alan's bag of pre-cooked lentils, they go in. Good stir round. So we've got this amazing French farmhouse style lentil stew going on here. Beautiful flavours. We're just going to keep bringing that up to the boil, reducing it down, and then if I need to add more stock or some more water, then I will. And you can see it's just beginning to reduce down and stick to the bottom of that pan, and that's not what I want. I want it to have a little bit of stock and sauce running through it. So at this point, I'm just going to add a bit more water. The black pudding, nice and crispy. Flip it over, and then classic French style, in the way of all good cooks, particularly chefs my age who learn to cook in a French style. At this point, we add a big knob of butter. You take it off the heat, and we just stir that butter in nice and gently. What that does is it enriches the sauce. Stir it all together, and really, how quickly did that take? No time at all. And then just to finish it, a little splash of red wine vinegar, just to lift it. 2 pieces of black pudding on the top. And there you go. Very, very simple, but absolutely delicious black pudding and lentil stew.